Well, that's not square. Welcome back to Philip's Hot Rod Garage. All right, so without a doubt, I know all you guys know the old saying, one man's junk is another man's treasure. Well, that definitely applies to this video because I saved this old frame from going to the scrap yard. Somebody was gonna haul it off for scrap and I saved it and I'm gonna make something useful out of it. So another man's junk, definitely my treasure. So let me show you what I got and what the plan is for this week. And let's get started and see if we can't make something useful out of all this junk. So this is just an old stock Model A frame and it's in really rough shape. It has been broken right here and welded back together. Somebody put a big old plate on it right here to fix it. Over here on the other side you can see that it's really bad, rusty along that bottom of that rail. It's in terrible condition. And they also scabbed a patch onto this side right here, just trying to brace it up. Now the guy I got this thing from was building a hot rod and this frame was just so rough that he cut the cross member off the back and he cut the one off the front, so it was already cut when I got it. And he was just gonna haul this middle section off to the scrapper. So I saved it just in time. I found out about it just in time to get it, to keep it from getting hauled off. Now, the reason I need this is because I'm gonna make this rolling table out of this, or like a body jig you might wanna call it. Something to bolt my body to. And let me tell you the reason why I need to do that. All right, so there's times on a project like this when you need the body sitting on one rolling jig and the frame on another rolling jig. Yeah, I like everything in the shop to be on wheels. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to that. If you build everything in your shop on wheels, you can move things around, to reorganize, to get things out of your way, to be able to sweep and clean up, keep your shop clean. Just works better when everything's on wheels. So the main purpose for making a body jig is to be able to get the body off the frame so that I can actually work on the frame. Because this thing is nothing more than just a set of frame rails sitting here for now. Just two rails sitting there clamped down to my frame jig. Now the frame jig is something that I made specifically to be able to build the frame on. But with the body sitting there, it's kind of hard to work on the frame, and I don't want to just sit the body off on the floor. I really need something to roll it around on. And when I get ready to paint the car, I can bolt the body down to this rolling jig we're about to build and roll it right into the paint booth to do the painting. So that's one good thing about it. And also, since I'll have all these body mounting holes in place, there's two body mounts over there, one there, one there. All of those are in that original frame, so I'll be able to bolt this thing down. And with the body bolted down so it's not gonna move around on me, I can start jacking this thing around to get all this area back here squared up like it needs to be. So as you guys can see, there's gonna be multiple uses for this body jig, from the paint process to the fabrication process, all the way down to the end of the project. I'm gonna be using this jig to roll that body around on until this car is done. All right, so here's the plan. I got some 2x2 material to build some legs out of, and that's the same stuff I got holding the car up now. That works pretty good. I got some, I believe that's gonna be 3/16 plate that I'm gonna use to make the feet, I'm gonna call it, to go on the legs that will give me something to bolt the wheels up to. You can see on this one over here how that is done. Yeah, I'm not gonna need the front cross member. That's gonna be probably a piece I take to the swap meet to sell. It does have some really good frame horns on the front of it. I don't know, I might keep those, I might need those. I do have another frame for another project that might need some frame horns on it because they are pretty rough on it. So yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do with that yet, but either way, the frame's gonna get cut off, probably even with the firewall. When I put the body on, I don't want anything sticking in front of the firewall. Don't need all that. I just need something to roll the body around on. But we will need the rear cross member welded back on. The rear cross member has the rear body mounting holes in the cross member, so I'm gonna go ahead and weld it back on. So that's it. Weld the cross member back on, strip all these running board brackets off, cut the frame rails off from the firewall forward, make some feet to bolt the wheels to, make some legs, weld everything together. We're gonna have us a body jig. So let's get started. All right, so let's figure out how tall this one is. 30.5 inches. So I think I'll go with that on my new jig as well, or something close to that, because this has been a pretty comfortable height for me to work on the car. Most of my work that I'm going to be doing is down in the bottom sections, so I can get to it really nice sitting on my stool. So that's what we're going to go with. I can always come back later when I start to work on the roof and modify those legs a little bit on this table I'm building to make them adjustable or something, so I can let the car down lower for working up at the top. But I'll worry about that when the time comes. I think the height that's at now is pretty good. So let's go with that. All right, so let's do some math here. I had my wife to stop by and pick these casters up from Harbor Freight. I really appreciate her doing that. 7.5 inches is the height of the caster. Okay, if we're gonna have a 30.5 inch overall height on the table, and we take 7.5 off for the height of the wheel, let's see, 7.5 is the wheels. From 30.5 leaves us with 23. But we're gonna have a piece of 3/16 metal that's gonna go between the wheel and the leg, so we have something to bolt the wheel to. So we're gonna take 3/16 off of that 23-inch measurement. That puts us at 22 and 13/16 for the height of the leg. Let's make sure that's right. 22 and 13/16 plus a 3/16 plate is 23. Add 23 to 7.5, that would be 30.5. That is exactly what we want. So let's get started cutting some legs. All right, let's get these legs cut. Now I want to dress this end off a little bit to get it squared up. I always like to cut my ends first to get them square before I do any measuring. All right, that'll work. .22 and 13/16. Gotta go a little further. All right, that's gonna be good enough. They do not have to be perfect. This measurement is not critical. So if we go, do I have enough material? I've got to make sure I have enough material. 22 and 13/16. Because I have to get 2 legs out of this one piece, even if I had to make it shorter. Huh. I mean, I don't really know how you can get much better than that. It's going to be almost exactly halfway. You know what? I might want to move this so that I'm throwing sparks the other way. I got this insulation showing in here because I haven't finished this building yet. And I might not want sparks going down behind that insulation. I am going to be working on the building some soon, but what happened was after COVID, I was working on this building and the price of materials skyrocketed, and so I just quit on it. I decided I'm not paying the prices for those materials that they're asking. Not when I'm not building a house. I mean, if it was a house, it'd be different, but the shop, no, I'll wait till the price of materials comes back down. So eventually I'm gonna be doing some more work, but not today. I'm losing everything. What do I do with the tape? Oh, put it in the floor. Gotta have these glasses. 22. It ended up 22 and 11/16. I was a little shy on that one, but that's close enough. 2/16 of an inch shorter than the other table. That'll be fine. I mean, who's keeping up with 2/16 anyway? Let's get it cut. All right, we got 4 legs. Now, we got to cut plates for the wheels. Now I know I'll be able to get 4 plates right there. All right. Marking a little bit of a space between them so that when I cut, I can cut between them and not lose any of my width. Because if you just mark side by side and then you make a cut line, you lose the amount of your cut. I don't want to do that, so mark them with a space in between. Now I got to get my plasma cutter. Go ahead and cut these. All right, guys, time to drill them now. All right, so now we got to get all this stuff ground down. That's going to take a while, but somebody's got to do it.
All right, that took a minute, but I got it. Now we gotta mark them out and drill them. All right, so let's see what fits. I got a few bolts in my bolt bin. I've been working on it lately, trying to add bolts to it as I come across some old used ones. Some of them are new, but I just haven't bought any for it yet. 7/16 is a little big. Let's try 3/8. Yep, that's it, 3/8. All right. That's perfect, guys. Perfect. So now, we got to weld these plates onto these legs. Yep. That's what we're doing next. All right, let me measure it now. Make sure that got it centered up good. So, I think I'll go ahead and tack that on there. Yep. Well, that would have been great if I would have turned the gas on. I forgot it. That was much better. All right, they're all tacked in place now. Should be good as far as going ahead and welding them out. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do next, weld them out. All right, so before I weld them out, I just wanna make sure everything's good. So line them up at the bottom. And I'll check to see how close they are to being lined up at the top. That's pretty good, guys. Pretty good, not perfect, but pretty close. Plenty good enough for a body table using an old junk frame. All right, so what about that? Yep, that's pretty good. So I think I'm ready to weld them out. All right, so here's how my welding looks. I'm used to welding on sheet metal on cars. I don't weld thick stuff very often. So I know I got some certified welders checking out my channel, and you're probably laughing at me right now, but I think it'll work. Let's get the rest of them welded. All right, that's it, guys. They're all welded. All right, they look pretty good. Yep, they look pretty good. So let's move on to what's next. All right, so there's several things that have to be done, but I think the most important thing to do now will be go ahead and put that cross member back on. So that's what we're gonna work on next, but we gotta have some measurements. All right, so I've pulled up the Jalopy journal here, the ham, and I found this thread called Building a Model A Frame from Scratch. And there's some measurements in there that we need. Hopefully you guys can see that. But that tells me where that rear cross member is supposed to be as far as the body mounting holes are concerned. So we're gonna use those measurements right there to get that cross member in the right spot. All right, so there's a good close-up of it. 10 3/4 from that hole to that hole, between these two holes. That's really all I need to know. Those two right there. 10 3/4 from the center of that hole. It's close enough. Close enough. Now let's go set the other side. All right, that'll get it. That will get it. All right, so the cross member's back on there. It's tacked in place. It's not fully welded. I'm gonna save that for a little bit later because I've got to make a cross measurement across this thing, like an X measurement, to make sure that everything is square before I weld that out. So the thing we gotta do now is clean up all this mess and get started welding those legs on. It's time to put those on. All right, guys. That looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. All right, well, it's like a jigsaw puzzle, but it's coming together pretty well. That's pretty much what I pictured in my head. I'll probably move the legs on the back. I'll probably move them back some. The front ones, I don't know just yet exactly where they're gonna go, but that's pretty much the idea right there. And I wanna show you what the plan is for putting the legs on. What I'm planning on doing here is getting the leg where I need it to go, and then coming in here and marking it up under here, and I'm gonna cut the bottom of the frame rail out so that the leg can slide in and land under the bottom of here so that I can weld it in right in here. Of course, this could end up being further forward, but most likely further back. Most likely going to be back here somewhere. I may even put it all the way back to the cross member right here. Just cut this area out and let it come in and go under here, and then I can weld it in around it. I think that's going to be a good idea. And I'll do the same thing here on the front. Just mark it here, mark it under there, let the leg slide in and land under here, and then just weld it to the side of it there. And of course this will be against the outer rail, so I weld it up the side, probably only on one side. Since the frame has a taper to it, I want my legs to be straight. I don't want them to be tapered with the frame. That way it'll roll correctly, because two of those casters are not swiveling. So I need the wheels to be perfectly straight. So this will end up being something like that. So that's the plan. All right, guys, I got a mess to clean up and the video is getting kind of long, so I'm going to leave you guys right there with this one. Now what we're going to do in the next video is we're going to cut these frame rails off, even with a firewall in the car. We're going to get rid of what's left of this battery tray. We're going to get rid of this brake rod. We're going to get rid of these running board braces. We're going to weld the frame back up right here. It's just tacked now, so we're going to weld that up completely, fully weld it. We're going to cut out the bottom of the frame rails, as I told you a few minutes ago, and get the legs welded in. We're going to put in any kind of braces that we might need to put in, because this jig needs to be completely level and it needs to be completely square, so that when the body's bolted on, the body sits down squarely and level so that the doors open and close as they should. And then what we're going to do, get it outside, get it cleaned up a little bit. Not going to try to sandblast it and make it perfectly clean, but I do want to clean it up enough that I can put some Rust-Oleum on it, the way I did the jig that's under the car now. I think it'll look a lot better with some Rust-Oleum sprayed on there, because this is going to be a tool or a piece of equipment that I keep around the shop for a long time. Because when this bodywork's finished on this car, I've got another Model A that's got to go on here. I've actually got more than one Model A that's got to go on here. So I'm going to be using this jig for a long time, rest of my life, or as long as I continue to work on Model A bodies. So yeah, I want to make it look pretty decent, because I'm going to be working with this thing for many years to come. So if you guys are interested in making a rolling jig to roll your Model A body around on, this is a good way to go. You can buy these old frames pretty cheap. I actually got this one thrown in on a deal. I bought a bunch of fenders. I had a video on that a while back. I went picking and bought a bunch of fenders and all, and the guy just threw this old frame in on the deal, and yeah, saved it from the scrapper. You can buy these old frames pretty cheap. I hope nobody got their feelings hurt because we're using a Model A frame, an original frame, to build a jig out of. But guys, this frame was not worth using. You can buy decent frames. You can find frames a whole lot easier than you can find car bodies. And they're plentiful. I know where several frames are that are in real good shape. This one's not in good shape. This one, I would never try to run this one. But I know where several frames are. I know where way more frames are than I do bodies. So yeah, this is a good way to go. It's a good way to go. So get you an old frame, make you a jig out of it, have something to roll your body around on. It works good, or it's gonna work good.
I have faith that it's going to work good. So appreciate you guys watching again this week. We're going to be hopefully finished with this in the next video. I don't want to stretch this out any longer. So hopefully this next week, this will be completely done and we're going to be back on the car. So thanks for watching. I appreciate all you guys that click like on the videos. Go ahead and click like on this one. It helps me out with YouTube and the algorithm. They kind of like it when people click like on the videos. So click like and go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about how this is turning out. And I've not gone too far that I can't change the plan a little bit. So if you see anything on here that you'd do different, leave me a comment. Tell me what you would do different. So yeah, there you go. Always appreciate the comments. Thanks to all you guys. If you want to contact me, phillipshotroddgarage@gmail.com. Check me out on Facebook at Phillips Hot Rod Garage on Facebook. I do have a Instagram account, but I might end up getting TikTok. I don't know. I don't have that. I don't know anything about TikTok, but some people keep telling me I need to get TikTok, so we'll see. I haven't even done much with Instagram, but anyway, check me out on there. Anyway, you can find me pretty easy. Just type in Phillips Hot Rod Garage when you search, and you'll find me on there. Appreciate it. See you guys in the next one.